Hello and welcome to the Romance Track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail Z Martin and Morgan Brice, and today we're talking about all things romantic. Valentine's Day, chocolate, roses, champagne, whatever makes you think of hearts and flowers and romance. But first, let's start with having our panelists introduce themselves, and I'm going to start with Macy.
Hi, I'm Macy Blake. I'm a gay romance writer, and my newest release is Stop Kidding Around.
Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy, published under AE Wasp, a gay romance, and my latest release is the fourth book in my Pros and Cons series, which is kind of a gay leverage meets Charlie's Angels that I'm having a lot of fun with.
That is such a fun series.
It's
Jayce.
fun.
Hey guys, I'm Jayce Ellis. I write also gay romance. And my next release is Learned Reactions, which comes out in March, which is a best friends to fake relationships to lovers romance.
Fun. Andy.
Hi, I'm Andy Gordon. I actually write gay romance too, shock, right? And I guess the last series I had was Better Be True, which is a roommates to lovers sort of story. And it's the last one in the series that I wrote with Anita Sunday.
And Hildie.
Hi, I'm Hildie McQueen, and I don't write gay romance. I read gay romance, but I am in the throes of writing a 6-book series right now, Highlanders, Medieval Highlanders, which is my jam, and my 5th book is about to come out, and it's called A Fearless Rebel.
Awesome. And great background.
Thank you.
And I'm Gail Z Martin and Morgan Brice. As Gail, I write epic fantasy, urban fantasy, steampunk, and more. And as Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance. But it's all about the love tonight, so we're going to talk about Valentine's and love. Does anybody here have a Valentine's book, either coming out or in your backlist, or Valentine's Day figuring in one of your books? If so, give us a shout out.
Sonali didn't introduce herself yet.
You did not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sonali, I'm sorry. All my pictures morphed, and I thought I had gone around all of them. Take it away, Sonali.
I was trying to find an elegant way to insert myself.
Thank you.
I'm not elegant.
Thank you. I'm so glad. So I'm Sonali Dev, and I write crossover between women's fiction / general fiction and romance that is set in the Indian culture and the Indian American culture. And my latest series is thematic retellings of Jane Austen novels. And Recipe for Persuasion is the latest one. That's, of course, Persuasion. And this series is set in a politically ambitious Indian American family. So the Indian Kennedys, if you will. So there's going to be 4 books. The next one is in Sense and Sensibility.
Oh, cool.
Very nice. So Valentine's Day, love it or hate it? What do you think? I mean, you never run into anybody who's completely neutral on it. And as I had started to ask before, if you've got a book that has a Valentine's Day theme, plug it. If not, we'll just talk about the day itself.
I literally was trying to remember if this book takes place on Valentine's Day or not. But it is. It was my 4th book in my veteran series, Paper Roses, and it's the wedding and the issues with that. And they're trying to get a last minute wedding on Valentine's Day, which is a ridiculous thing to do. You know, I don't even know, which is part of the plot, you know, why the rush, what's going on. But yeah, that's my 2 vets, my veterans who I do love, and that's Paper Roses, which is the sequel to Paper Hearts. That's
nice.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Learned Reactions, the last scene takes place on Valentine's Day, which of course I can't tell you what it is because that would totally ruin the entire book. But yes, it ends in Valentine's Day, and it's, you know, really, really like silly, cheesy because it's Valentine's Day. But I did end it there. And then, you know, earlier this month, I was writing Valentine's Day shorts for my newsletter subscribers. So I've got like 3 shorts coming out for Valentine's Day for my releases last year. And that has been interesting because, you know, I had to think about what Valentine's Day meant to them, you know, which is different than what it means, you know, to me. So that's been an interesting thought process to go through.
Them, your characters.
Yes, them, my character.
Yeah, that is interesting. This last book I was writing that I'm working on right now, I was trying to think of ways to make it romantic that fit the characters. And because I'm not particularly a Valentine's person, I'm kind of or a romantic gestures kind of person. So I was looking for other things like the love languages,
Yes,
gifts of service kind of thing. Yeah. And like something that shows that somebody's paying attention to you was like one of the big things. If someone is listening to my blathering and actually maybe even acts on it, like that's the most romantic thing. If you're paying attention to me, you're ahead of what I'm doing because I'm not really paying attention.
Yes.
Or bragging about you to a third party. That's super romantic.
I think to me, Valentine's is one of those holidays that I don't look forward to because I'm a sucky gift giver. And funny because giving is my love language. If I know people and I know what they love and things they like, then I love giving them stuff. But my husband is kind of like an enigma. If he wants something, he'll buy it. And if I'm so excited and I give him something, he's like, oh, okay, thanks. I could probably use this. But then when it comes to my books, because most of them take place in other times, I guess my Regency said it might have been around then. I'll have to do some research on that. But I know that in medieval times there's no such thing. So I really have not included it in any books that I can think of. But it would be cool to find out if in Regency times what they did. Because I'm pretty sure that's when it started.
Is it a Regency era holiday? Because I thought it was a Hallmark holiday. At least in this house, that's what we
It's been around.
I think it's Regency or Victorian.
Yeah, because I've seen the cards, the old-fashioned cards. Yeah,
it might be Victorian.
I think it's more Victorian because
Victorian,
the actual myth of St. Valentine's isn't really all that romantic. Like most usually end well.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say I should take that information back to my husband because he thinks birthdays are Hallmark holidays. So we have a very low bar in this house. But I mean, it's just in my real life, it's just a stressful thing that everyone seems to worry about. And I'm like, okay, if you need one day to be romantic, then that kind of does away with the whole concept of romance. And I totally agree with Amy that what's most romantic is it's just basically taking your love and making it visible, right? So it's just a way of saying, here is my love, and I can show it to you in a little puffy heart. And if that works for you, that works for you. My memory of Valentine's Day is sticking suckers or lollipops into little cards for 25 kids in my toddlers classes. And so now they're adults and they have to do that by themselves. So it's funny that there's a bunch of us romance writers here and none of us are really taken up with this romantic holiday.
Oh, wait, I'm gonna break that trend. Before we had our daughter, I actually I was that person. The last one we did, because we knew that my daughter was on the way. I just planned a trip for us, and I told him, pack your bags, and he said, where are we going? I'm like, I'm not telling you, we're gonna, this is it, pack your bag, we're going. And I made all the arrangements. So that was like the last one I got to do.
If anybody ever made an arrangement for me in my life, I would die. I don't think anybody's ever scheduled anything for me but myself,
Well, by that point, we'd been together 15 years, something like that. So I kind of knew what he liked and what he didn't like. And if I got it wrong, I was in real trouble. So.
That is sweet.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, I would be very stressed out if my husband planned anything for us.
Was that for Valentine's Day or was that just romantic?
It was Valentine's Day because we were working with the surrogate, and the surrogate told us like not long before that we were pregnant. And I love how the doctors always said we're pregnant because like I wasn't pregnant. And but so it was sort of like the last kind of hurrah for a while because it's
kids.
just
yeah.
I mean we didn't, I don't think we really knew it was going to be
You never
quite all
know.
that.
Nobody does.
But we were
Nobody
just
knows,
making
exactly.
sure. You know?
And if people try to tell you, you don't believe them anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah, kids in
Yeah,
romance.
I
Interesting.
think one of the things that surprised me so much when I was a kid, you know, I would go into the store and I would see those really fancy heart-shaped boxes of candy that were, you know, had the satin and the lace, and they were so big. And
They're the best.
I was just thinking, oh, someday when I'm grown up, someone will give me one of those. And then I actually got to eat the candy inside one of those and go, oh, wait, this is such a letdown.
You
Great
know that
box.
if you,
That's a great candy.
but if you buy those boxes, because this is what we do for our daughter, because she likes that stuff too. You can take that empty box to Godiva stores and they'll fill it for you. So you don't have to eat that junk that comes out of like a Target heart. You can take that. We have like a satin one or felt, and we take it to the store and they fill it with what we know she'll like.
Ooh,
Now
that's
that's
fancy.
a classy Valentine's present.
Seriously.
Yeah, I would
For
love
a
to.
9-year-old, right?
Spoiled his little girl a little bit, in case you guys
Yeah.
haven't picked up on that yet.
This is not fair because Andy is one-upping all of us. He cleaned his house. He
I know.
got
I know,
us
right?
for Valentine's
Trying to
Day, and
make us
now
look
he even
bad.
knows about chocolate for those chocolate lovers.
I have to tell you, you guys hit me at the right time because it was, you should have seen it over the weekend before the weekend hit.
I mean, you see
Christmas-
mine right
Christmas
now,
was down
so
here.
really, I get it.
I totally get it. Yeah. So what's the most romantic thing that your characters have ever done out of all your books? And, you know, we've all got multiple couples. Is there something that, you know, when you were writing going, oh, this would be great. I really like this.
Why do I always
Can I
blank?
cheat?
As soon as somebody asks me, I can't remember any book I ever wrote, you know, not one character's name. I'm like, I don't know.
Can I
So
cheat?
I
I think-
write.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I write very high romance because, you know, stylistically they're like Bollywood films, so it's everything is, you know, dialed up to 500 at all times. So I do write very, very hyper romantic books. And I mean, what I try to do is I try to kind of make it about the gesture rather than the things. So I have this weird counter stuff going on. So there's actually like I've never had an engagement, like the whole proposal thing. So this is the opposite of the question you're asking, but in my in Recipe for Persuasion, it's set on a Food Network show called Cooking with the Stars, which is like Dancing with the Stars, but with a chef and a celebrity, and he's the celebrity and she's a chef, and it's a second chance romance. But there's this moment in which he reaches into his pocket and, you know, she thinks he's going to pull out a ring, but she has this whole like very hyper feminist mom and things like that, and so she thinks, you know, they believe that proposals are a way of you know, are basically patriarchy. You're handing the decision of whether a man wants you or not entirely to a man. And so he pulls out something entirely different, and it's, you know, so he knows, he's like, do you think I'm crazy? I've known you for 20 years. I'm not going to propose to you, you know. And so it's more that he knows that, you know, the non-proposal is what would be romantic. And so I think
Romantic, yeah. I just remembered one. I wrote one in Boys of Summer. My hockey boys don't lend themselves to grand romantic gestures because they're hockey boys. But in Boys of Summer, which is a Friends to Lovers, which I love, Friends to Lovers, the one character at the end, he's totally messed everything up, and he flies out to Boston in a private plane with the tux and the flowers and everything, and 2 kittens that he finds in the rain, you know. But the other characters' sisters pick him up from the airport, and they're laying into him the whole time. You know, he's getting the whole come to Jesus moment, and he's soaking wet by the end. I think that was probably like the biggest romance, because they said you're gonna have to get him back. But our brother is super romantic. They're this giant Irish Catholic family from Boston, you know. So the gestures meant something to their family. Like it was important to be public, and it was important to be like just over the top hearts and flowers, and it worked because, you know, I wrote it. So yeah, it worked.
Macy, we haven't heard from you in a little bit.
No, I was just going to say, I actually wrote a short story. I'm kind of chuckling with sitting here thinking about it because I write paranormal romance. So a lot of what I write is the whole fated mate, and you just see each other and that person is your one. And in the prequel to my universe that I'm writing in, they end up with 6 kids the moment they meet. They end up finding 6 orphan shifters, and he kind of gets brought into the world and it's just boom, they're an instant family and they're trying to figure it all out. So I wrote a Valentine short story where the alpha is trying to propose, and just like everything keeps going to hell in a handbasket. The kids are getting sick. One of their kids ends up allergic to roses, and so then that causes a disaster, and one of their kids uses magic, and so he tries to clear the scent out of the house, and it creates basically a tornado inside their house. And so his spouse comes home to what's supposed to be this romantic declaration of love and will you marry me, and it's chaos, and that's sort of the way I feel about Valentine's in general, that it's chaos. And I just stay home and find a great movie on Netflix or something.
Macy's characters think bowling is romantic.
They do think bowling is romantic. Yes.
Bowling can be romantic.
Bowling
It was very romantic. It was great.
Pink Floyd, a laser Zeppelin thing with the bowling.
I was going to say some of the bowling alleys around here have midnight. Well, they used to had midnight bowling with the black light and all the lights and the disco ball. I mean,
And listen, I know it's cliche, but you get up there and they're like, let me help you, show you how to bowl correctly. And you're like, okay, yeah, no, it's awesome.
Which is way more romantic than the roller skating back, when I was in high school, because that involved bodily harm. Even I can't hurt myself bowling.
I can't hurt myself bowling, but
I broke several nails bowling.
I was like, me and my
I had my brother when I was a kid lean back and swing the bowling ball and hit me in the eye.
Oh,
ow!
So much for non-contact sport.
Yeah, I threw my back out because I swung sideways while throwing it. So it's really
so athletic.
You're klutzy. Yeah.
I think that's
Maybe
the
we're all safe
part about romance.
about
We write it. Anything can be romantic, right?
Yeah.
Any.
Yeah, and you have to say, there's something to be said about the whole, like Macy was saying, that the reach over from the back and help anyone with anything, like the pool move, right?
Classic.
Just seems funnier when you're bowling because it's just like it's not practical at all.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And you can make dirty jokes about putting fingers in holes and things. So
yes, exactly.
Oh, she did.
I did.
My kind of good. Yes.
Yep.
Am I like the only one who really is into romance? Like for me, it was like the most romantic thing I think I ever wrote in a book was something that almost kind of happened to me. I had this guy take me to like a puddle jumper airport that held these lights, and he was a plumber, and he had this pickup truck, and he set us in the back, and so in the first book I wrote, which is Better Be Sure, the one guy who's a plumber, amazingly, takes the guy to a puddle jumper, and it was kind of much better than the one I went to, but it was just like this very different thing.
So what is
it was just really,
I don't even know what a puddle jumper is. Is that
one of those little airports. It's one of those little airports that that like they put little. We have one right here by us. And there was one actually by my father's office, which, believe it or not, that's the one he took me to. And I'm like, kept looking for my dad to show up. But yeah, they're just kind of little airports, and they have a very set schedule because obviously they have to work around like FCC rules and stuff. And so for somehow he figured it out, and we went there, and he had like food and everything. It was just like the coolest thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Aww. Yeah, I've been single since 2006, I want to say. So I haven't really had a lot of experience with that. No, 2009, I think, officially. Yeah, so no, I have to make it all up. I have to live through other people. Yeah.
I think that's the fun part about writing romance. One of my favorite things is most of my heroes are super alpha, so I like to write very alpha heroes. Some of them are almost to the point of being jerks. I just try not to push them over that line. But when they finally come to their knees and when they soften in that point, like I have this one Highlander in the Clan Ross series, which he's a heartless Laird, and he's she's hurt, and they bring her in the house and throw her, you know, and somehow she ends up on his bed, you know, recovering. And he, you know, that scene where he's looking at her, he doesn't ever want her not to be in his bed. And those kind of scenes where you're like, oh, this guy's such a jerk, but oh, you know, in that moment, it just makes you, it's that one romantic scene that I love writing.
We actually got engaged on Valentine's Day, but so that we would never forget when we got engaged. But we're both very practical, very detail-oriented people. So we were actually scouting the location for the chapel where we wanted to get married after we'd already put a down payment on the ring, and we were next going to go talk to the caterers. We already had the spreadsheets done. But there was the formality of the, here's the ring, will you marry me? So
That's fun.
we're very, very organized like that.
Literally, I was married to a guy that I met when I was 15. So like my whole history is very limited, but we were getting married on a Friday night because it was cheaper, 1989. And on Wednesday, he said to me, do we have a honeymoon? Are we going somewhere? And we were, I had planned it, but then we also ended up going to the wrong airport. We were on Long Island. We were supposed to go to LaGuardia, and we went to Kennedy. So we had to we missed the plane to our airport. That's how unplanned any romance I've ever had is. It doesn't even, if anybody even does it, it doesn't work out.
Well, I have to agree with Macy. I write paranormal romance, and so that gives you all kinds of additional opportunities. And the one Valentine story that I did actually for a group Valentine's giveaway that's now one of my freebies on Prolific Works, it circles back around not only with the main couple, but it completes a 70-year-old romance between two ghosts who have been kept apart since World War II. And I don't usually tear up at my own stuff, but I'm writing this and going, oh, they get to be together. I mean, spoiler, it's a romance, of course, happily ever after, but that was fun because it was kind of not the traditional sort of romance. What's the most outrageous thing one of your characters has done to attract the attention of their beloved?
Besides kidnap them?
Well, that counts.
Let's see.
Have a kiss cam scene.
Yeah, with writing medieval, it's easy to, you know, that these guys pull these things, or they have the, you know, she has to marry you because, you know, you have to marry him because he's your laird, or they'll, you know, send somebody to capture her or sabotage a wedding, things like that. But I did have a guy who married this girl because it was to bring their clans together. But one of the worst things that you can do back in those times was to, you know, once the marriage is done, send her back to her clan. And so it was the biggest insult, and he sent her back. And so them coming back together after that was where the entire story takes place. But to me, it was just like the rest of the book, he kept apologizing for, you know, every time. It's like he kept apologizing. And so it got to the point where I just started adding apologies because it was funny. Because it was a horrible thing that he did. But anyway, he ended up getting hung, but he lived.
It got better.
Normally, if I look like I'm not paying attention, I'm just busy downloading all of your books right now. I'm just going through backlists and just clicking right now.
I mean, grand gestures in the kind of worlds that I write tend to be, you know, like barging in right when a dark witch is about to sacrifice the guy you decided is, you know, your you know, beloved, and then having that go down, or breaking down the door right as a serial killer is about to kill the man you love. You know, that's sort of the grand gesture in my books. Or stopping the guy who was about to poach your shifter mate and take him away to be hunted, you know, when you're in your wolf and he's in his fox, and, you know, as one does. So, you know, that's kind of normal around these parts.
Yes, you just said poach, and I write a lot of food, and I was thinking of like, like, what?
Coaching a wolf is a whole other thing.
See, a lot of mine tend to be around publicly claiming your love, especially because they're gay romances, you know, and there's always issues, especially with the hockey players. So I had one that went wrong with a kiss cam at an ECHL level game where the guy who was in the closet, the hockey player, the camera comes and he just takes a chance and like kisses his wannabe boyfriend kind of thing in public. And of course, he's an NHL player, so it's like uploaded immediately. But it wasn't good, like, because the other guy wasn't really out. He didn't want to be kissed in public like that, you know, for their first thing. So it was a big fight, and that worked. And then, but it was a good learning lesson for the new guy, you know. And then another one was a marriage proposal during a press thing after a game, you know. So I like the big publicly, I can't take it back kind of thing, you know.
Love it. It's like a black moment slash grand gesture all rolled in one. The first one.
Yeah, but not really sure what that says.
No, I think that's great. But I have a Pride and Prejudice retelling, which is Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors, and it's a gender flip. So she's the Mr. Darcy, and he's Lizzie Bennet, and you know, there's this whole power switch thing going on between them, because that's the dynamic between Darcy and Lizzie Bennet in that world. But after that awful proposal has happened, and after he has told her, you're a jerk because she's the Darcy, and I'm really like, I you know, even if you were the last woman left on earth, I wouldn't be prevailed upon to marry you, and that whole thing has happened. But after that, she is also his sister's doctor, and his sister's an artist who's going to she's a neurosurgeon, and his sister's an artist who's going to lose her eyesight as the result of this tumor surgery that Trisha is going to do, and she's refusing to have it. And so after she has no chance of being with him, she still goes out looking for a way to convince his sister, and does this really great thing and finds a way to bring her around, knowing fully well that she's already lost him. So it's this completely selfless grand gesture that shows that, you know, that the person she is, and of course she's doing it because she wants him back, but without that expectation. And so you know, that's this fun thing where Darcy goes looking for Lydia and Wickham. So it's kind of, I think, really sweet that she does that. And of course, he does too, thankfully.
Well, I loved what Andy said about planning the honeymoon, you know, and again, this is one of those where sometimes ideas come from real life when things don't work out. We went on a cruise for our honeymoon, and we'd never been on a cruise. You know, we were 24. We hadn't been anywhere. And he got the flu for the first 3 days we were on the boat. So he's stuck in the stateroom, trying not to heave his guts, sick as a dog. And I'm sitting on deck going, well, this is a fun honeymoon by myself. Okay.
I was actually telling Gail earlier that personally, my worst experience, it was set up to be an epically romantic adventure. I had just turned 21. We were going on this really great first date. It was one of those, your friends sets you up, and it was like that instant chemistry. And we get to the restaurant, and he orders wine, and I'm feeling very grown up at this point. And about 10 minutes in, I start realizing I'm not feeling very well. And then about 11 minutes in, I start having trouble breathing. And about 12 minutes in, we have to call 911. And it turns out I'm allergic to wine. And so my very romantic first Valentine's date with this guy ended up with me in the emergency room, and he never called me again. And so therefore I know that I dodged a bullet with that one, but still it was actually, it's one of my favorite stories to tell, that it was just this set up to be this epic romance that, you know, we would all write about, and the instant spark. And then, you know, I tried to die over dinner. It was delightful. So as you do.
As one does.
Yes.
What happened on your
Did,
first
did
date?
you at
Gail?
least get the very dramatic, he rushes into the emergency room with you in a bridal carriage
Bridal
going,
style. Yeah.
somebody save her.
No, I didn't even get, I think that there was just like sheer panic, because you're, all of a sudden I'm like turning different shades of purple and not breathing. And, it was just,
And you hadn't had any wine
now
before
the
then?
EMTs were very attractive, which was helpful.
Now
Oh,
that's what
No,
I was thinking.
that he ghosted me after that. So-
If the doctor had been the one, that would be a love story.
Right?
Oh, goodness.
Alas, no, alas. I'm not that lucky, I don't think.
What happened to Andy? There he is.
Back.
There he is, he's back. The wonders
Sorry
of
about
it.
that.
Yeah, please don't
I
go
know.
away. We're gonna think something's going down in DC.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
no.
please stay there.
No, we're okay.
Do you guys have you taken actually from life, life and put it into your book? So when it comes to romantic gestures, because I guess in real life I find, and maybe I'm anti-romantic, I'm a romance writer, but I just find that it's hard to find those romantic moments because when either you end up laughing when you're trying to do this ultra romantic thing, or something like, what Macy said goes wrong. Like our, honeymoons are never, I got married 2 months after 9/11, like a few weeks after. And so when we get to the resort, there's hardly anybody there. Nobody's flying, everybody's, so our honeymoon was so weird because we were like in the restaurant, there's like 2 other people there and this huge resort, and we pretty much had it to ourselves. It ended up being very surreal and strange. And so part of me was like, now that I think about it, we should have had even more fun and run down the halls doing stupid stuff, but we didn't because it was just a strange time. But yeah, it's like you have these high expectations for your honeymoon, and then I forgot my underwear.
Perfect.
That's not
Conveniently.
a
Who
Friday.
needs underwear on honeymoon?
I guess she forgot.
I really did. I was like, I have no underwear. We have to go buy underwear in Mexico somewhere. We gotta go find them.
And he was like,
Our bridal party managed to dig through all of our luggage and hide all of our underwear while we were busy, finishing up with the reception. And yes, so we found underwear stuffed in all kinds of little corners of the car for a long time after that.
Hysterical.
Honeymoon, who needs underwear?
Sounds like something my friends would do.
I would say the other thing that, sometimes factors into real life, we made the mistake of getting married on the same day as a Penn State home game. And let's qualify that I went to Penn State. We got married in Pennsylvania. We had people at the wedding who had 50-yard line tickets. Season.
Oh no, they were not happy.
My aunts and uncles. And so they
And they came to the wedding?
they came
What
to the
did
wedding.
they say? Did they
went
show?
Love.
through the reception line and said, love you, so happy for you. If we leave now, we can make it by third quarter.
Yeah.
And so they, skipped the came for the ceremony, skipped the reception. And then since so many of the people who were guests also went to Penn State, we had to have the DJ announce the score throughout the day. And then people would go back to the bar to get a drink and look at the game and come back in. So yeah, always watch the football schedule when you're planning your wedding date.
did they at least win?
Huh? Yes,
Did
yes,
they-
we did.
So I shouldn't say that as an Ohio State fan, no matter how many years ago that was. I'm kind of upset about that outcome.
That's too much.
Do you live in Ohio now, Jayce?
No, I'm actually in Northern Virginia now.
Oh, okay.
But I was out there.
Oh, that's right. You said that earlier.
Yeah, I went to a D3 undergrad. And so, our football team wasn't worth anything. And I was a huge football fan. So we all kind of gravitated toward, Ohio State. And so I'm a huge Buckeyes fan, to my husband's Miami Hurricanes chagrin for many, many years.
Well, and one of the things that happens in real life, and of course this is why we have romance, is that at the age where you really would love to do some of these grand romantic gestures, you don't have the money. And for us, at the age when it would have been fun to do some of these, let's whisk away to Paris, we were broke.
Right.
Then we went through the 10-year period where we had small children.
Mm.
So we were broken a different way because we had small children, 3 of them.
Mhm.
Doesn't lend itself to spontaneous romance or, winging away at the drop of a hat. And by the time they were all grown and moved out, it was like, we can make our own fun without the grand gesture, which is the benefit of getting to know someone. But, there's a stage in life where I'm sure it's wonderful if you can do it. And that's what we write about, isn't it?
Right.
Well, I also think, as we were talking about earlier, that it's really important to know your partner's,
Mhm.
Love language.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Because for me, that wouldn't be what I would like. I don't like surprises. I don't like things thrown at me. I'm like Gail was talking about, having a spreadsheet for her, I am a spreadsheet girl. I enjoy a good spreadsheet. So, I think that it's that, but for me, it's, laundry being done or the kitchen being cleaned, and it's like, I don't have to do that. Like, oh my God, you're the best. I think that stuff, I think as you get older, that the showing up with a couple dozen roses, it's like, well, that's very sweet, but I really needed gas in the car. So I don't know. I think maybe your perspective changes, that as you get a little older, you start to appreciate things at a different level that aren't, maybe not necessarily be the grand gesture, but it's the small gestures once you're at home and you've been
But
with
I like
someone for a while.
reading the grand gestures. I want my people and my fiction and my books and my romances to be over the top, to have those great moments, even though in reality we know that these two 20-some-year-olds and 30, they were
It's not happening.
but it's cool to read it and write it.
And well, that would be interesting thing, kind of why I haven't responded the last 2 questions, because I'm like, my characters don't have like these really grand gestures, they're much more quiet in their declarations. It's the, showing up when someone is out of their element, and they wanted you there, and then things went down and you came, because this is what they need. It's that type of thing. There is certainly a scene of, somebody showing up to an event wearing a remote control plugged, but that's not something that everyone knows about at the time. That's much more personal, gesture. And so I was kind of
a whole other grand gesture.
It was, right? And that one was based in real life, which
Really?
will never happen again, I promise. But and so I was kind of like, well, I don't really have anything like huge or grand. They're not these huge declarative statements, with my characters, except for the one that's coming up, which of course I still can't talk about because this will go live before the book is out. So, that's the only one that actually has one of those kind of classic romance, out loud, out in the open for everyone to see type of grand gesture.
Yeah. I think a grand gesture to me too doesn't have to be big. It just has to have cost something from the person's doing it.
Yes.
I really want them to step out of their comfort zone for the other person.
Yep.
So showing up might be huge for them.
Yep.
And I love that it costs you something to.
What about you, Andy?
Risk, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I really like what you're saying, Amy, because it may not be a Hallmark movie grand gesture, but if between the two people, it is a grand gesture if you know what it's this guy's scared to death to fly, but he gets on a plane, or whatever it is, that is a grand gesture in reality, because it not only costs something, but it's saying I value you above staying in my comfort zone, or
right.
And I think that's the heart of it for me, is what makes romance is personal between the couples. And Valentine's Day in general, it's very specific. So it doesn't mean anything particularly, unless it does. And if it means something for you, that's awesome. That's your story, and that's
So I think of Valentine's Day is a lot like New Year's. It's not the day itself. It's not the day itself. It's to remind you of how important it is to not lose that in your life. And I mean, I think I don't know if I ever think of myself as terribly romantic, and I probably should be more, but so far it hasn't. After 26 years, it hasn't gotten fed up with me yet. But I still, it's like sometimes it's just buying flowers when you're in the store.
Yeah.
And the funny part is my daughter is more romantic than I am, and she's all of 9. And we'll be in Whole Foods getting something, and she's like, "Papa, can we get Daddy some flowers?" I'm like, but that's it. I mean, to me, Valentine's Day isn't itself magical or like, but it's to remind you that this is important in your life, and don't take it for granted, and just have, even if it's little, like a box of chocolate, just something to make your partner know that it's important. So I guess that's for me. That's how I see Valentine's Day. So I haven't written any of my characters yet, but I probably will soon.
Well, folks, believe it or not, we are almost out of time, and this has been so much fun. But I want to have a chance for everybody to go around, remind everybody who you are and where to find you online. And if you've got a book that's just come out, or a book that's coming out, or whatever you want to tell people about, this is the shot to tell everybody what you've got out there and how to find you. So, Macy, go ahead and start us out.
I am Macy Blake. You can find me at macyblake.com or on Facebook in my Facebook group, which is Macy's Moonlighters. And my newest release is Stop Kidding Around. It's book 2 in my Magical Mate series. So if you're a fan of paranormal and fated mates, then this is definitely going to be the series for you.
Amy?
Yeah, I'm Amy. I publish under AE Wasp, and you can find me at aewasp.com. Or my Facebook group is probably where I'm the most active, which is Amy's Wasp Nest. And gosh, I don't even know what to say about. I've got a book, nothing new, coming out for a couple of months.
All right, Sonali.
So I'm at sonalidev.com, and I'm on Facebook and Insta and Twitter and the whole thing, and that can be accessed at sonalidev.com. But if you like food, then if you sign up for my newsletter, you get a free recipe book, with actually, I think, really good recipes. So there is that. And I have Incense and Sensibility coming out July 6th next year, and he's basically going to risk his gubernatorial run for her. So talking about grand gestures, that's what's at risk. So yeah.
Cool. Jayce?
Hey guys, I'm Jayce Ellis. You can find me at author Jayce Ellis. And that's also my handle on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. All of the places are all the same. My next book is Learned Reactions, which comes out in March. And if you like contemporary gay romances, teenagers who are snarky, like to wrestle and be left alone, and best friends to lovers with grand gestures that have way too many Top Gun references in it, that will be the book for you. And so that is out in March.
Cool. Andy?
So I'm Andy Gallo. You can reach me at andygallo.com, very original. My Facebook group is Glorious Readers. That's GALLORIUS. It's a play on Gallo. I don't have anything coming out probably not till April. If you want to see the free book, which is Better for You, that's available through, I think there's a book funnel giveaway right now, and they'll be going on through, I think, Valentine's Day actually, so you can get it there.
And Hildie?
Hi, I'm Hildie McQueen, and you can find me at hildiemcqueen.com. I'm super active on Facebook, and if you're on there, I put up pictures of all my coffee mugs every morning. And right now, I just had a book release. I hope you can see it. It's gonna there. Mm-hmm. Is it backwards? It probably is.
Oh.
Fearless Rebel, but you can at least look at the dude. Fearless Rebel just came out last week, and it's the 5th book in my Clan Ross series. So yeah, really look forward to talking more to people. Just come to Facebook and find me, or go to my website.
Cool. And I'm Gail Z Martin and Morgan Brice. You can find me online at gailzmartin.com and morganbrice.com. And I'm really active on Facebook. Look for either name and you'll find me there. And the most recent thing that I had out was a Christmas short story that is set in my Kings of the Mountain world called The Christmas Spirit. Coming out next in an anthology is Gruff, which is a fated mate story with swooning romance and fainting goats because they are goat shifters. And so, as one does. So that'll be a lot of fun. And oh yeah, Baphomet shows up too, because it's me. But thanks guys very, very much for being here. And thank you everybody for watching us. Stay tuned for a lot more romance coming your way here on Continual.